Welcome everyone to AP Physics. This video is going to talk a little bit about just the syllabus for this course. Just talk a little bit about what we're going to cover this year, what's expected of you, kind of what I'm hoping we'll get out of class this year, and a little bit about how class is going to be structured, different policies, all that jazz. Okay, so first off, I would probably suggest just going through and reading the syllabus before you watch this video. So if you haven't already done that, just pause the video, kind of read through the syllabus, just so that you kind of know what's going on. And then hopefully you'll have a chance later on in class or maybe during office hours, just if you have any particular questions, you're welcome to ask me then, or you can shoot me an email if you're just really curious. Okay? But, of course, this is AP Physics 1. This year is, of course, going to look a little bit differently than normal, but even with all kind of the virtual classroom, we're still going to cover the same topics that we normally would cover. So, this is, of course, an AP class. For some of you, this might be your first AP Science class. For others, you've taken other AP Science classes. What I'm going to tell you is that this course is designed to be similar to a college level course. All right. Now, because of that, I'm going to give you a bit more leeway and a bit more responsibility and freedom than you would get in other classes. All right. Now, what that means is that I'm going to do as much as I can to help you and support you while you're learning. But at the end of the day, you're kind of responsible for how much you get out of this class. All right. I am not going to hunt people down. I am not going to really get on people's cases about missing work, things of that nature. It's going to be up to you to kind of keep track of what you've turned in, what you need to still complete, and what you need to correct. All right? I'm doing everything I can to make sure that you know when tests and assignments are due. Just make sure you keep track of it. It's the same thing. You guys are starting to get to the level, you're juniors and seniors, maybe a few sophomores as well, but you all are starting to take your steps towards if you're headed to college, or towards the working environment. And in all these cases, you need to kind of have the responsibility and the maturity here to be able to kind of keep yourself organized. Okay? Now, same deal. If you're not really sure about something and you're not, not quite understanding something we talked about in class, please don't wait until the day before any assessment, any quiz to come and say, I haven't really been understanding this all week. If you don't understand something, come find me. You can come to office hours. You can come, after school. I'll be on Zoom for like an hour. If you have questions, you can just shoot me an email. We can set up a time that you want to meet. But in any of these cases, it is up to you to be proactive so that anything you're confused about, we get cleared up pretty quickly. All right? And of course, same idea is that this year especially, it's really your job to be successful. I'm going to do everything I can to support you and provide you what y'all need to kind of be successful. But at the end of the day, success is going to be determined by how much you guys put into this class. All right? Now, the course description, you're welcome to read it. Basically, all that matters is that for AP Physics 1, we're going to talk a lot about motion. All right? And what's nice is that this isn't related to calculus. So for those of you who might not be in calculus, do not worry. You don't need to be in calculus to take this class. We're going to talk a lot about things that are moving. We're going to talk about things such as forces, energy, things that basically cause motion or stop motion. And just various things that kind of happen when things start to move. All right. And I keep bringing up motion because honestly, what we're going to find out is that with motion, all the topics we're going to talk about, besides electricity and circuits, all tie back to this idea that they either cause some sort of motion or they relate back to some sort of motion. All right. So it's kind of nice because with a lot of things that are moving, we can easily experiment with that or see it ourselves. So that's kind of a really nice thing about this course, is that we're able to very easily see the physics in action. All right? Now, there's a pandemic addendum to this because, of course, there is other things going on in the world, which is why we are doing this online. All right? But basically, the main thing I want to point out for this, and the main thing I want to emphasize, is that you're going to have 7 classes online. All right? That is very overwhelming for anyone, and I understand that, which is why I want you to make sure that you're keeping me in the loop about if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you feel kind of like the workload in this class is just a little too much for you at the moment. Please do not hesitate to let me know if you need support. I am more than happy to come up with a way that we can kind of get work done in a way that works for your schedule, but you have to let me know what's going on. All right? That is going to be something that's really important this year, especially in the first semester, when more than likely we will be online. It's just making sure that you keep up with your work, and you also make sure that you are not letting yourself kind of being overwhelmed and not saying anything. All right? That is going to be crucial this semester. It's just making sure you tell and reach out if you need support. Okay? Now, my expectations of you, they're no different than if you were in the classroom. You need to show up to class on time. All right. I know we're online classes, but that doesn't mean we can just kind of roll into the meeting room 5-10 minutes late. I'm going to count you late if we do that. All right. You need to bring all required materials. This time, usually that just means your laptop that you will be using. You're going to need a laptop. I'll just be straight up. If you're going to try and do this on your phone, that's going to be an interesting experience. So you're going to need your laptop, Chromebook, whatever you got. But with that, you will be able to complete everything in the class. All right? Make sure we're being respectful, especially in an online environment. I'm not going to be able to be in all of the groups that we're going through when we do group work, unfortunately. But I also understand that y'all know what is expected of you. You guys are a digital generation. You've been online more than pretty much most of the teachers at CHS. So you understand what is required and kind of what is an online respectful environment. We're going to keep it that way. All right, and we're going to make sure we hold each other accountable, and I'm going to make sure I hold y'all accountable to ensure that we keep ourselves respectful and that we allow ourselves to kind of have a learning environment where we can easily make mistakes and not have to worry about feeling like we've done something terrible. All right, that also kind of circles back to the idea of just bringing the right attitude and doing your best. Whenever you're in class, I expect you to do everything you can to kind of solve problems, complete your labs. I personally think it's kind of stupid to sit in the class and not really do anything. I mean, what was the point of sitting in the class if you weren't willing to try to push yourself forward? Okay? So, you need to be willing to make mistakes, to try something that's challenging that you didn't think you would do before, because that's how we're going to grow in this class. If you know everything about physics, this isn't the class for you because you know everything already. The whole point of you being in this class is because you don't know that much about physics yet, and you're going to learn about it. All right? Now, etiquette and appropriateness, there's a bunch of things that administration sent out for us to give to y'all as well. This is one of those things. So it just kind of goes back to the idea of what is respectful, what is appropriate on an online environment. Y'all pretty much know what that looks like. So just kind of go through and read it. Just don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything that's offensive. Don't do anything that would demean someone else's experience. That's all that really matters here, and that's what we're looking for. Okay? Now, materials. You're gonna want your Chromebook. You're definitely gonna want your Chromebook with a stylus. If you're using a MacBook or a normal laptop, you can probably do this, but it's gonna be a little difficult to do kind of the free writing sections on Jamboard with your mouse or your trackpad. But that's something where y'all can figure out. Maybe you just have one person being recorder. That's something that you guys can figure out for yourselves. Okay. 3-ring binder, probably going to be useful, would be much more useful in a traditional year. This year, you're probably going to need everything on your Chromebook, so it won't matter. But you're welcome to print it out if you want to. Same thing with pencils, you're probably not going to need them. There is no textbook for this class. The closest thing is called 5 Steps to a 5, AP Physics 1, Algebra Base by Greg Jacobs. It's just an AP workbook. It's a really useful tool if you're feeling like you want something to review. It's got explanations of all the different topics we're going to talk about, several practice exams. Just a lot of great stuff in there. So that's just a suggestion. I think the paperback version is pretty cheap on Amazon. So if you're looking for kind of a textbook or something, some support to have at home, that's a great option. Okay. Now, the grading system. This year, the grading system has changed a little bit. Okay. Now, you're going to hear about this probably in every class, but basically the grading system across the school has been kind of changed, that now we have 4 categories, all right? And they all have to fit the same percentages. So what that means is that you can look at it right there. There the percentages are broken down. Midterms and final exams are still 20% of your total grade. Projects and quizzes, okay? That's pretty much going to look like just quizzes. And occasionally we might have a project, especially this year, try to do something different. But basically, any of those large assessments, those I'm going to still score them like I normally would. So it's just like a point system. But then when they factor in your final grade, that's 36% of your total grade. Homework and labs, I'm not allowed to call them that anymore, but that's what they are. Those are we're going to call weekly mastery checks. Those are Those are going to be 28% of your grades. Independent work, 16%. I don't know what that'll look like. We'll figure it out. At the end of the day, you do your homework. You ask questions, you do your labs, you make some mistakes, you try some stuff out, you're going to be doing fine. All right. Same deal, grading policy. This kind of goes in a little bit more detail about just kind of what we're looking at. With assignments, what's going to happen is usually homework will be assigned on Friday afternoons, and we do the next Tuesday after that, and there'll be also homework assigned on a Tuesday due on Friday. Okay, and if that seems kind of weird to kind of visualize at first, there's gonna be a couple of things to kind of help us just visualize when all the stuff is done. Okay, but usually you'll probably have 2 homework assignments in a full week period. All right, I do reserve the right to change that depending on what we need to cover, but I'm going to try my best not to overwhelm you with homework. I'm not the only class you're taking, so I want to make sure I do not, monopolize all your time. Homework usually as well, this is kind of the important thing for this class. Homework, you have the chance to correct as many times as you want. I don't know, those of you who might have siblings who have taken this class, or friends have taken it. Whenever I give you a homework assignment, you need to turn it in on time. And then once you've turned it in, I've graded it and given it back to you, you can correct it as many times as you want until you get the grade that you want. Okay? Now, homework is not worth many points. It's only usually worth about 3 points. So that's why I'm not particularly worried about y'all correcting it. And I also would much rather you guys take the time to correct your homework and get that full 100% than worry about what you got the first time. Okay? So that's just going to be something we're going to talk about later on as well. You can ask for clarification. There's a certain time limit for how much time you have to correct homeworks, and we'll talk about it in more detail when we get through class. Okay? But right now, just kind of gives you the idea you can correct homework. All right? Now, it says use a point system for grades. It's just basically out of a certain number of points. It's kind of not that important because then we have the weird categories. So, and also this year we have a new policy where basically you can, for any assessment, and I'm making it only for assessments and usually only for quizzes. Projects, I'm not going to do that because that's going to be a pain in the neck. I don't really know how you rescore on a project, and you shouldn't be getting lower than 80 on a project. But basically, for any quiz you take, if you get lower than 80, you are allowed to do a retake. The maximum score you can get on the retake is an 80%. Okay? Now, before you retake the assessment, you're going to have to fill out a form that first requests a retake. It'll be a Google form online. I'll set that up when we get closer to the time we take quizzes. You're going to have to complete a review sheet as well, and you're going to have to get the review sheet completely right before I will give you the retake. All right? Now, the retake is not going to look like a brand new quiz. More than likely what it will be is I'm going to look at the number of points you got away from 80, and I will assign a set number of questions to get you to that level. Okay? So just kind of like looking at it that way, that's how it's going to work. As we get closer to our first quiz, I'll talk about that in more detail in class. All right? Labs, okay? According to the College Board, 25% of our instructional time will be spent on hands-on lab work. It will be hands-on, just hands-on your laptops. But still, we're going to do a lot of labs in here. It's a science class. We're trying to do a lot of exploration. We do a lot of labs where basically our goal is we're trying to figure out what's causing something to happen, and we're looking for some sort of relationship. What's awesome about physics is that it's really easy to see if I do one thing, if it causes something else to happen. All right, that's what's really nice about the fact that it's all related to movement. It's really easy to see if you cause something to move. All right, now homework, blah blah blah. It's a lot more. Just talks a little bit about this stuff. I didn't really change a lot of this literature from previous courses. So homework, I don't know how long it'll take. I'm going to try not to make it more than 2 hours a week, maybe 3 hours, depending on what it is. You'll be fine, I promise. When you're working on homework, if I understand, especially right now when y'all are kind of socially distant, collaborating is going to be something I do encourage. It doesn't mean I want you just to copy someone else's answer. All right? So make sure that when you're talking with friends or classmates and you're working through problems, you do your best to kind of, discuss what you need to do to solve the problem, but you solve the problem itself on your own. Okay? And of course, you can always come find me if you have questions on homework. Shoot me an email, send me a Canvas message, whatever you need to do, or come to office hours. It works for me for all of them. Okay? AP problems is just FRQs. We have FRQs, of course, because it's an AP class. So we'll talk about that in more detail when we get closer to our first quiz. This year, we do have the AP exam. The College Board has said so far that it will cover all the topics. It will be offered online and in person. They really haven't said much else about it. I'm not 100% sure. I'll be curious to see if it looks like a traditional exam by the time we get to the end of the year. But of course, We will still be preparing for it. All of your quizzes are based off of AP questions. So through quizzes and various FRQs we're going to do in class, we're going to be preparing for the AP exam. All right. And then my approach to physics, I mean, basically the main things we want to be able to do in here is that I want you to be able to create an experiment in response to a scientific question. And that doesn't mean something where you've got all this statistical analysis, you're collecting a million different points of data, you're looking at all these really complex trends. I want us to be comfortable with the idea that if something happens, we could come up with just a quick procedure to test that something and see what causes it to happen. All right? Now, of course, that also comes back to the idea of the next part, reason blah, 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 with respect to a relevant equation. Just basically, we want to be able to kind of take a relationship and maybe come up with some sort of math relationship that maps out what's going on so we can make a prediction. Because that's going to be a big thing about this class too, is we're going to learn the rules of physics so that we can predict what's going to happen if I do something else. Interpret graphs. It's going to be really important in this class. We'll talk about it in more detail as we get to our first unit. And understand the physical meaning of numerical quantities. Basically, we want to be able to understand that if I say something's going 100 miles an hour, or in this case, we're going to start using meters per second, things like that nature, I understand how fast that actually is. Okay? So, there is a page right here that says acknowledgement of receipt. This year, you don't need to do this because, well, you know what? Yes, you do. Just screenshot, figure out a way to fill this out if you don't mind, and then send it back to me. I'll have an assignment open where you can kind of submit it on Canvas. So yeah, fill this out if you don't mind. Send it back to me. That's how I know that you actually looked at the syllabus. And then a couple additions we have to kind of discuss real quick. So these are all things that were given to us by administration that are just kind of related back to school. So attendance, you need to show up to class, please. It's pretty simple. I'm still going to talk about, I'm going to treat attendance just like I normally would in class. So how it's going to work is if you don't show up, I'm going to mark you unexcused absent. Now, I know there are lots of things that could cause you to miss an online class, things you can't control. What I'm going to say, and this is very important, if you miss class for whatever reason, I need you to fill out an attendance form. It's on the home page on Canvas. You need to go to the Google form and fill it out. Now, if it was a reason that is excusable, like maybe your internet was out, your computer just is dead and will not start, or for whatever reason you just could not come to class for a reason outside your control, just let me know. I will go through and I will change it. All right? And if you do, by the end of the week, if you do the work that was assigned that day, because I'll be posting videos that kind of relate back to what we did in class, I'll change it to you being present. Okay? Now, what I will say is that if you miss class for a reason that is not excusable, you slept through class, you just didn't really feel like coming to online class today, that's not excusable. It's just like normal school if you use that excuse. So just be smart about it. It's like school, so you got to be here. Okay? There's a distinction between what live instruction and independent work is. Live instruction is when we're in class. Independent work is just like if I assign a video on Friday or Monday or something. Okay? So congratulations, you know the difference. Grading scale, in case you forgot over the summer. Black Knight Pride, you can go through and read that. That's just all stuff, we kind of talked about earlier, but it's all stuff that we want to make sure that we're doing when we're in class so that we're ensuring that other people are willing to take mistakes and, we're not causing anyone to feel like they don't belong here. Student support, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, the last part is that if you haven't seen it already, this is the schedule for the year. So all classes are going to be in the afternoon. So class is going to start at 12:30. Each class is 45 minutes. You get a 10-minute break in between each session. And you have odd block, even block days. Excuse me. So just, make sure you're paying attention to that. Fridays, we don't have class in person. For us, that means I'm going to post a video that I'm going to ask you to watch and, assign some guided practice, which is just notes that go with the video, and then I'll assign a homework as well. And then I'll talk more about office hours in class, but there will be links to office hours, things of that nature. Okay? So, I know I apologize. I talked a lot at you. I know this is not really the way we want to start the year, but with me talking at you for a long video. But this is just a way to kind of summarize the syllabus a little bit to save us time in class so that we don't have to spend 15, 20 minutes going over it in class as well. Okay? So if you have questions, please send me an email or ask me in class. We're gonna have time the first couple of days to talk about it. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in class.